Hello everyone, I'm Yana from Wannabe Taller team. So today I'm with a patient who did femur lengthening with the Sunulan method. How many months it's been so far since the surgery?
So it's been over a month and a half. I came here in the middle of May.
Okay, so 1.5. I'm gonna ask him a couple of questions regarding the process so far, and he's going to answer them thoroughly in detail. He came from the United States. His name is Peter, and thank you very much in advance for sharing your experience. My first question would be, how have you been so far?
So it comes in ups and downs. There's parts of this that are a lot harder and parts of it that are, I wouldn't say easy, but a little bit more manageable.
Yeah.
But overall, I would say as time goes on, it gets harder, but it's, at least in my experience, it's not usually like this constant agony or anything. There's going to be times where it's bad, but I've been able to, get through it so far.
So I think it's like a heartbeat. Like sometimes the pain level increases during the nighttime, especially, and daytime it's manageable. But you receive the painkillers, and they also ease the pain, right?
Yeah, the thing about the painkillers is I've done my best to actually not really take them very often because as of today, I'm at 5.6 centimeters, but I still have a long way to go, and I want them to be effective for when I need them to. But the few times in which I have taken them, they're very effective, and they do work. So
you try to avoid consuming too much medication?
At least until later on when I know I'm going to need it.
All right then. So may I learn what is your goal height?
So for me, I'd like to gain 9 centimeters, and that would put me just about between 176 and 177. So, even with some yoga, maybe stretch out, I'll be a good 5'10", which would be pretty amazing for me.
Good. May I learn, how did you decide to do the surgery? I mean, what was the reason behind? If you don't mind.
I've always known about this type of procedure, but I knew about this many years ago when the most popular one was on the tibias. And I think I remember seeing the Ilya method, big cage. And you could go through all this pain and suffering and you'd get maybe 2 inches. And to me, that wasn't really what I wanted. But when I found out you could do it on your femurs, which I think looks more proportional to me anyway, and also gain a lot much more height out of it, it made it more worth it to me to say,
There's more muscle mass.
Right, and to be able to possibly gain 3.5, almost 4 inches was much more worth it to me than just to gain 2.
All right, thank you very much. Can I just ask why you did not do the surgery in the United States, but you came here and chose Turkey as destination?
Yeah, there's definitely a few reasons for it. One of them being obviously the cost. I financed this myself just by working and saving up, and in the U.S. this procedure is definitely much more expensive. Also, I was intrigued by the fact, and I trusted the fact that the doctor here had done this I want to say over 700 times or something like that by the time in which I had booked my surgery. Whereas in the U.S. this is not a very common procedure. I think, maybe in total some doctors have only done this a couple hundred times for their whole life because it's just not very common in the U.S. So between the price and knowing I'd be with a doctor who's done this many, many times, I felt like I could trust you guys.
Correct. Thank you very much. Can I learn, why did you choose the Sunulan method over precise?
Yeah, I think there's 3 main benefits to Sunulan over precise. Obviously, one, just the price of it. It is much more affordable. The second one is that you can theoretically gain a little bit more length with it. I'm shooting for 9 centimeters, whereas with precise, I think it can even be kind of hard to get 8 sometimes from what I hear.
Yeah.
But the third main advantage to me, which was pretty important, was that I hear you get back to walking quicker because throughout this process, I've been doing a little bit of walking since these devices allow for some weight bearing, especially for a lighter guy like me. So by the time I get these removed, my bones will be much more consolidated and I can get back to my normal life a lot quicker.
So with the Sunulan method, you are able to give more weight bearing in the course of lengthening phase, and that also like stimulates newborn tissues a lot. But with precise, like patients are not able to give weight bearing because there is a risk of nail breakage. All right. So can you tell me, what do you think about the doctor? Like, do you think like he has been paying attention to your lengthening process? Do you think he explained the process to you well?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually just saw the doctor yesterday. He comes very often, and he speaks with all of the patients. And even when he's not in person, he's very communicative with the physical therapist and the nurse. So obviously, any messages I'm asking you or anyone else on the team gets relayed to him. And he seems very confident in what he's doing. Like he's very experienced,
down to earth.
And yeah.
Thank you very much. What do you think of the team, by the way? Can you tell us briefly?
I think the team is one of the best things here, and I think if you're going to do something like this, you should be at the clinic here rather than going home. All the physical therapists are really great. They know just how to help you when you're in pain, so don't be afraid to tell them what's hurting you, because they'll always try to help you.
Them.
And they're all really friendly. I know just a couple days ago we went out into the town, into Taxium, and saw some shops and did some suit shopping for me. And it's been definitely a great experience. And even just beyond the team, I think the culture here is pretty great. Being with the other...
We're hospitable. in a case,
exactly.
We're hospitable, yeah.
It's helpful to see and hang out and socialize with the other patients, because it really does make the time pass quicker, and it makes you feel a lot less alone.
It makes you feel good that the other patients also are experiencing the same thing.
Yeah, it helps to see other people in pain.
Like you become very sportive with each other, I guess. So are you satisfied with the services that you have been provided in this thing?
Absolutely. I think this is a tough procedure. Definitely the hardest thing I've ever had to do, and I don't think there'd be anything you guys could do to make it easier than you already have. So.
All right. So my last question would be, can you please give some tips for the viewers, especially the ones who consider limb lengthening surgery? They must, I think, like wonder your advices with the procedure, like what can they do prior to the surgery or during the surgery? Sorry, after the surgery?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of those things you need to spend a lot of time planning before you do it. Don't just rush into it. If you are able to, you should stop lifting weights with your legs and definitely do a lot of stretching, because the more muscle you have on your legs, the harder this ends up being. And just even while you're here, I think one of the biggest and most important things you could do, because there's going to be nights where you don't sleep, you're in pain, you feel terrible. You need to have that resolve and think about, for me at least, I think about how great it's going to be when I come back and I'm taller than my friends and my family, and you really need to focus on that. Otherwise, if you don't really want it that badly, or you don't really, you kind of just a little bit want to be taller, I would say you shouldn't. You got to really want to do this, because if you do, you'll be fine, but you got to want it.
You kind of just like overcome the pain, like the difficulties.
Yeah.
Let's say when you have strong reason behind. Can you just like slightly talk, like open the pain? How is the pain level?
So yeah, I would say it comes in waves. Some of the worst pain is obviously when you wake up in the hospital. For me, that was probably the worst so far, coming out of just the anesthesia. Then after a week, it got a lot better, to the point where I was feeling honestly decent. And then I did lengthening for about 1.5 millimeters a day versus 1, because I'm here for a very limited amount of time, and I wanted to make sure I had enough time to recover before going back home. And I only did it for 10 days, but it was extremely painful for me. I believe that was around week 2 or 3. And I ended up going back to 1 millimeter, which is much more manageable. And
that's why it's a standard lengthening limit.
And I advise all the new patients who come here, don't do 1.5. It's really not worth it to me. I think some people maybe can handle it, but I just, even if you can handle the pain, your bone consolidation is much lower and it's harder for it. I just think it's overall not good. You're better off planning to have more time here than to try to rush it.
I mean, technically it's possible to do 1.5 a day, but still most of the doctors, including Dr. Unisearch, like don't recommend that much because it might affect the bone healing, it might affect the muscles, it can increase the nerve pain, etc. But for a short period of time, yes, it can be allowed, especially after 1 centimeter, which you did in that way. But it's good to stick to 1 millimeter a day. Yep.
Definitely, I agree with that.
Thank you very much for like telling your experience so far. We're gonna do one more time interview after you are done with the process before you leave Turkey. And let's see like how the how things will change for you, and we'll see like how much height you gain in total. So yeah, that's all for today. Take care a lot and see you in the next video.